Hello, and welcome back to another Pen Talk. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for getting another ticket on my journey. Sometimes I just want to break out of the mold or do something a little different or explore more pens. So I go back to my shoe boxes and these two popped out at me and they said, let's get restored. So I said, okay, let's do it. Let's look at this one first. This is a classic ladies pen, if you want to call it that. It's small. There's no real markings. There's an A00 there at the very end of the barrel. And then something there. You know, it's certainly not a Waterman. It's, some chased pattern there, but it's pretty worn. But as usual, since I'm a nib guy, when I took the cap off, I noticed that this is a French nib. So that had me intrigued. And as we see, it's a pretty soft French nib. So that's probably like a number 2 size nib. As we all know, size doesn't always matter. So now we're into this one, which is a very bizarre overlay. I would normally call this like a tier 3 pen. I have some of these that have mother of pearl in them. You know, there's no branding on it. It's a pull-off cap, and we see a fairly long section and a fairly big nib. And it's a Waterman nib. Could this be a Waterman pen? There's always a chance. But as always, it's a nice soft Waterman nib. So I'm going to clean these up. I'm not going to put the cap on anymore because the inside of it's a little bit cracked, which the overlay keeps it intact. But I think it's kind of gunky here. You know, these all just need a thorough cleaning. So we're going to revisit them after I do a thorough cleaning. And obviously at the end, we'll put some ink in them and see if those nibs work as well as I think they should. I wanted to show important stage 2 when it comes to restoring, repairing lever fill sack writers is, will the section pull out and what's left inside of it. So based on the condition of this sack, I would say this pen has been resacked. It's not the original sack that was in this pen when it was new. And whoever put it in there twisted it up. And that's probably why it never really worked well. But we're going to take off the old sack, clean up everything, and put it into writing order. After cleaning up the pen, I found these 2 emblems, one on the barrel, one on the cap, that label it as Paris, and there's Zodiac in that little shield there. There's also some numbers on the end of the barrel. There's a 74 and an A00. It looks like this was a pretty big manufacturer of pens back in the early 1900s. They did a couple different labels. The nib also came out very nice. I did my normal flush. It has great flow. It's an 18 karat nib. So I'm impressed so far. Something completely different that I don't have. So we're going to put a new sack in it and figure out what kind of ink we want to try and see how this nib reacts. I read an article that in FPN that says it's pretty flexible, and I think it's pretty flexible too. Someone tried to restore this pen before, and the sack that they put in got all twisted. So when I looked inside, I saw remnants of the old sack still there. So they hadn't cleaned out the barrel. So I cleaned it out so the new sack will fit in easily. I like that nice metal band there that's down where the lever is, reinforcing the barrel, avoiding a problem that sometimes happens with lever pens where they get distorted. The new sack is in place. Put a little bit of wood glue underneath the sack, let it set overnight, and then I put some shellac right there on the end. That hopefully will keep it in place for a long time. Maybe remember the DD nib that was on the Fasten pen from Italy. Apparently the same company that made the Zodiac pen also make the D&D nib. Same heart-shaped breather hole there. Interesting that the shapes are somewhat similar. Let's see how the other nib from the same company works. On the gold overlay eyedropper pen, the nib cleaned up very well, as I expected. I've never had a Waterman gold nib that doesn't clean up. It's a 5A, which is a good size nib. I'm not certain what the A means on the end. Maybe somebody can tell me that if they know. This feed is just outrageous. It's just a huge channel in there. You can expect a lot of ink to flow through that. Both the barrel and cap cleaned up extremely well. I'm very pleased with how they came out. It's a little bit of polish, a little bit of wax, took all the gunge off of that bottom part of the barrel. So this fits together a little bit differently than other vintage pens that I've had. So we position that like we should, we push in, and it only engages at the very end. So it'll be interesting to see how the flow works. I expect it to be a gusher. Here's a little bit of comparison just to put the pens in as perspective on size. Here's your Pen BBS 308. This interesting overlay eyedropper pen, the Paris Zodiac pen, and the Moonman Wong Kai. Here we are with them posted. The Moonman Wong Kai and the Paris Zodiac pen come out to about, pretty close to the same length. The Zodiac pen is a good size pen, as you can see from the length there. As we take a closer look at the business end, you'll see a lot of the differences between these pens. That's a very small nib. You're going to put a number on it. Maybe it's a number 2 or number 1. It's approximately a number 5 there in the Moonman Wong Kai. That is a 5, Waterman 5A, but the vintage sizes don't really correlate numerically to anything modern pen-wise. And that's approximately a number 6 there on the Pen BBS pen. So this is comparable to a number 6 in size. Shoulder's a little bit different, that type of thing. So I think the real key now is to see how these nibs write. So these are the inks I decided to use, and I think when you see the nib put ink on paper, you'll be able to tell which ink is in which pen, and that is Robert Oster Cafe Crema. Yes, this is a small pen, ladies' pen. There's a little loop to hang around your neck. It posts nice, and it posts right at the place where you'd want it to post to make it workable in the hand. And no, I would not write with this pen unposted. I like this nib. It has the right amount of bounce to it. You can lay down a very fine line with no pressure. And this is Rohrklinger Altkohlgrün, if you hadn't recognized it from the bottle. You know, you can write in any direction. I had to do just a touch of smoothing on this nib. It just had a little bit of scratch to it, which just a little bit of micro mesh got rid of, and no reason to keep it there. Who knows what this pen went through in its life, considering someone else tried to restore it. It's not super flexible, but you know, you can go from a fine line to, you know, maybe a double broad. So maybe about a 1.2. But it just feels good in the hand. It's what I expected and what I hoped for when I saw the pen and decided to restore it. So this is certainly an impressive looking pen, and I'm impressed with how it cleaned up. You know, I don't think this is gold plating. I just don't know what it is. It's kind of like fake gold, but it looks good. And I like the little signs of age, you know, the little dents. You know, I like the fact that, you know, in the restoration, I left a little bit of that tarnish there to make the design pop a little bit more. I just have a lot of LED lights now. It pulls off and caps relatively well. It posts right there. I mean, that's it. It does stay on securely, and it is a light pen. And we'll give you those weights. I didn't do that with the little pen, but it's a light pen. I mean, this is what I expected from this Waterman nib. It is softer and flexes more than the 18K nib in the Zodiac pen. It is very smooth. I mean, this is a nice pen to write with. It feels good in the hand. It's a good size. But as an eyedropper, you saw it was a little bit of a hesitant start there. I've also had a few globs from this, but, you know, I just inked it up a few minutes ago, so sometimes it takes a while for these pens to reach equilibrium. So hopefully you've enjoyed this little foray into two pens that you never saw before, may never see again. Maybe encourage you to look around in garage sales, flea markets, eBay for little gems that may pop up. So we've reached the end, so thank you for watching. May have many great writing experiences, be they vintage or be they modern. You know, the real thing is to just put some ink on paper with the pen of your choice. Enjoy it. Enjoy the thoughts that you can read later. So we reached the end, and we're going to say bye until next time. Yep, this is that Coffee Creme ink. Yeah, it does railroad. Like I said, it's not the best feed, but it is a vintage pen. It could be 110 years old, and I'll enjoy writing with it.